Before I even begin, I have to preface all of this with the statement that Secret of Mana was a new idea, and therefore should be admired for being a risk. Secret of Mana is very much a chimera of the best Super Nintendo games, with the heart of Final Fantasy beating in its chest, which is in the body of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The fantastic thing is that it doesn't feel like a Frankenstein game when you're playing it. Square was aware that you couldn't just add spells to Zelda and expect it to work as an RPG. That would just be an elementary version of Zelda, and Secret of Mana has issues in that regard, but we'll get to it later. Square's idea for balancing the combat system was recharging, which cleverly betrays my Link to the Past instincts, forcing a retreat every time I strike. Dare I call it the first tactical action RPG? Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Cautious ducking and weaving isn't the most satisfying way to fight enemies. I'd prefer mowing them down, but it gives Secret of Mana an edge that other action games rarely grasp. Rhythm. It forms a pattern in your brain. First you'll swing and hear the sound effect that sounds like an exertion, fall back, and then there's a little recharge sound effect that tells you it's time to attack. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing that a game can train me like a dog, but then again, I thank my phone every time I receive a text, because I have Edie from Mass Effect telling me,
"Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal."
Secret of Mana has multiple weapons to choose from, but I don't think it encourages me to mix and match my playstyle. Instead, it feels like the game wants me to pick a main weapon for each character and grind my weapon levels. Otherwise, my weapons might be under-leveled for a boss, and I'll be low on funds for armor because you have to pay every time you want to raise the weapon level cap. Randy kept the sword for the entire playthrough, as I'm a canon vanilla boy. The sword was a great weapon and encapsulated the feeling of A Link to the Past, but each swing felt more powerful in Secret of Mana. It's probably because the swing takes longer and you can get triple-digit damage, but it was still a meaty swing. Popeye has the lowest health and he starts with a ranged weapon, so I assumed he was meant to be a ranged fighter, so I upgraded him to the bow, which has the highest ranged attack. Unfortunately, Popeye never felt on par with the other two, and whiffed a lot of his shots, so I kept him in the backline mostly. I couldn't get a read on Prim, so I feel like she works well with any weapon, so I chose the spear, which was a devastating weapon. My attacks felt like I was constantly hitting the soft, juicy part of my target, and then they poof away out of sheer pain. Every hit from any weapon also includes a stun lock. I guess this is to prevent an enemy immediately hitting you back while you wait for your weapon to recharge, but it's long enough that you can get full charge back and hit them again. Secret of Mana uses a ring command system, and the articles I've read sure seem convinced that this is a gameplay mechanic, but in my mind it's UI, so I won't talk about it in this video. However, what I will discuss is the magic system. I have mixed feelings on this. On one hand, it's a handy tool, and the bosses would be damn near unbeatable without it. On the other, significantly heavier hand, it makes the bosses a joke, because it's spammable. You're encouraged to use it wisely so as to not waste MP, but then your magic won't be a high enough level for boss fights, and the correct spell OHKOs every enemy in the game. It's a poorly balanced mechanic, because if you don't use it then every fight becomes a repeat of Spiky Tiger. Seriously, what was that bullshit? And overuse trivializes an already pretty easy game. An idea to fix this for boss fights is maybe give the bosses a limit on how much magic damage they can take. That way it forces you to finish them off the hard way with your weapons, and it provides their explosive defeats with a bit more impact. I should also mention that there's a dodge mechanic for whatever reason. I literally never used this once. You might think, oh, it's so obvious, I'll swing my sword and then dodge to get away while it recharges. Then why does the dodge use charge? Am I supposed to use it on the most powerful attacks, which are all non-avoidable spells? I'm so confused by this addition. It helps the player, which is nice, but there's never a good reason to use it. I can't even think of another example in another game, so I have no choice but to remain completely neutral on it. The AI companions were a problem initially, but once I got them armor upgrades and found their optimal setting on the action grid, those issues faded fast, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I know a lot of that was nitpicky, and it's so much harder to find things you like about a game rather than things that annoy. But a wise man once said to be known for what you love, not what you hate. Yet it would also be a disservice to me and you to leave something unsaid just so my tone comes across as friendlier. So I've saved my favourite part of the game for last, the enemy design. I talked about this in my Dragon Quest review, but these enemies are bar none. It's not universally fantastic like in Dragon Quest XI, but there are some real winners in this bunch. Chobin Hood is a furry parody of the classic character, with chipmunk buck teeth and a snug little hood. The Trap Flower's cute snapping jaws and shuffling animations just look so cuddly. But there are some losers in here. Doomsword is just a sword, doesn't really have a clever name. The bosses, however, are all great. Springbeak's coiled legs and fiery comb give him this wind-up toy design, and his scowl is the coup de grace on this predecessor to the Angry Birds. Tropicalo looks like a mutant palm tree come to life with vibrant colours and a baby face. It's so creative and would fit right in with the Gen 7 Pokemon. And yes, as big of a piece of shit as he is, I must give credit to Spiky Tiger. He's got such a playful colour scheme and a beard that conveys his age and eyes that belong to a house cat rather than a predator. He still sucks though. Secret of Mana is known as an innovative game, but doesn't that mean it's supposed to inspire many copycats to chase after it for the next 10 years? Well, after 30 years, I don't think there's anything quite like Secret of Mana, and for better or worse, that makes it one of the most special games of all time.